Welcome back, everyone. I am Mrs. Lambert, and I have a fantastic game for you to play today. It's called Blockout, and it's perfect for if your child is practicing multiplication, arrays, area, addition of a bunch of numbers, and a healthy dose of competition. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to need a partner, 2 dice, something to write with, and a crayon or a colored pencil for each person, or some other way to distinguish whose play is on the paper. So you can use 2 different colored pens or 2 different colored pencils or whatever. And then you're going to need some graph paper. So on the graph paper, you're going to have to draw your game board. So it's just going to be a square. I've made mine 15 by 15 squares. But you can change the area of your game board based on your family's needs. So you can make it a little bit smaller, maybe only make it 10 by 10, or you can make it larger. If you do change the area of your game board, maybe talk with your child about how it changes the game or the strategy. Okay, so the way we're going to play is on your turn, you're going to roll both dice. So I have a 2 and a 3. So I'm going to make an array that is either 2 rows that are 3 squares long, or 3 rows that are 2 squares long. And I can choose to put it anywhere on the game board that I like. So since it's the first round, I'm just going to put it in the corner. So I'm going to trace my array, and I'm going to write the multiplication equation right inside my array there. And I'm going to color it in with my color so that I know that that is my place. Okay, and now it would be my partner's turn. And the goal of the game is to be the player that gets to cover the most of the game board. So it's going to use a little bit of strategy, a little bit of luck, because you don't really know what you're going to roll, but you can influence where on the game board you put it. So you're going to have to balance trying to fit as many squares onto the game board with trying to block out your partner. Okay, so I'm going to play as the blue player now. So I'm going to roll the dice again. Okay, and I have a 6 and a 3. So either I can try lining it up with the other players to kind of try and make the neatest game board so that we can fit as many rounds in there as possible. Or I can try making really odd shapes that would make it difficult for my partner to fill in their squares. However, the more difficult I make it for my partner, the more difficult I'm going to make it for myself as well. So I'm just going to make it, I'm going to stick to being neat right now. Okay. So I chose to make 6 rows and 3 in each row for a total of 18 squares there. So this is a great way to look to see how your child is doing the multiplication. Are they skip counting, 3, 6, 9, 12, or are they doing repeated addition? 6 plus 6 equals 12 plus another 6 equals 18. Or are they counting by ones, right? So see what your child is doing, and maybe if they're using a less efficient strategy, either show them a faster way to do it or an alternative way, and see if they want to try it on, right? If they're not comfortable with it, let them do it their way, but you're always welcome to kind of push them towards a more efficient strategy if it makes sense to them. Okay, so it would be my partner's turn. So, I got the same array, 2 times 3, right? And so if they've already gotten the same roll, see if they remember that fact, right? Or do they need to count it again? They might still be at that stage. Okay, so I think I'm gonna So I've decided to make it a little bit trickier for my partner there. I'm making some irregular shapes, right? So play would continue like this. We would keep taking turns making our arrays until both of us would go a full round where you'd roll the dice and you would not be able to fit it into your square. So for example, if I was playing on this game board, right, and I roll the die, and I have a 6 and a 2, right, is there any white squares left that I can make that roll? No, there's not. So that would count as one unplayed round for me. If my partner also rolls and they can't fit their roll either, so my partner here got a 2 and a 2, right, there's nowhere to fit it on there, so they have to skip their turn as well. If both of us do that, then the game is over. And so what you would do then is each player has to count up their total area that they have covered in the square. So again, let your child do the addition however they want, but be looking at how they're doing it. What strategies are they using? And so whoever adds up their area and has the most area covered, right, the most squares colored in, is the winner. So in this case, blue had more. If you're working with older kids, you can even push them to see what percentage or what fraction of the game board did they cover. This is a little bit easier if your game board has 100 squares in it, right, a 10 by 10 square. A little bit trickier if you have a game board like mine, right, 15 by 15. So that's one way to do it. Another question you could ask your child is how much of the game board is left uncovered, right? So how many squares are blank? Or you can ask them, what roll would you have to get in order to be able to fill in those blank squares, right? So right here to fill in this one, I'd have to have a 1 and a 6, right? To get either 1 times 6 or 6 times 1, right? When you're discussing multiplication, you can ask your child, is it the same thing? If you get a 2 and a 3, like I did those 2 rounds in the beginning, and I make a 2 by 3 array or a 3 by 2 array, is that the same thing or are they different? And have a discussion, right? Why do they think one way or the other? So great opportunities for conversation, but also a lot of fun, especially when you're playing to try and block out the other person. It can get really wild. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll see you next time.